I was wrapping up a full day of filming a mini documentary in Paris. Time was tight. I switched it to strobes for a quick portrait session, but the only modifier I had was a tiny softbox. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? Well, somehow it led to a powerful portrait, exactly what I had in mind. Now I get why some creators say that limiting your gear brings out your best work. Let's break down this environmental portrait, why I went with a wide-angle lens, and my minimalistic approach to editing. That day, my priority was the documentary, filming interviews and b-roll of an artist in his workshop. By the time I got to the photo shoot, it was crunch time, and in the rush I thought that my Godox AD-B2 was not working. Turns out I just forgot to attach the LED light. That's how out of practice I was. I had to rely on a tiny AD-S7 softbox meant as a kicker light. Definitely not ideal as a main light, but in a tight space with limited gear, it got the job done. And I knew that it could work. In the past, this small setup helped me capture some of my absolute favorite portraits. Pablo was facing a large window with privacy foil applied to it. It acted as a big softbox, as you can appreciate in some of the pictures I took without the flash. I had to address the lack of negative fill in post-productions, as we will see in a minute. I also switched on a practical light. Quick breakdown of the gear. The Godox AD-B2 is meant to combine two AD200s for more power, but I have never needed to combine two units for a dramatic portrait indoors. I use it for the modeling lights, which the original AD200s lack, but these days there are better options. The AD-S7 is a hidden gem. Direct mount, it includes a beauty dish and a grid, and it works great with the original AD200 and AD200 Pro. I hear it also works with the AD200 Pro too, but it blocks the modeling light. Lighting companies should offer more softboxes that attach directly to strobes. For those of us who travel light, bulky Bowen adapters are a hassle. I think this mount is sturdy enough to support a larger softbox. Anyway, if you want to check out the gear I use, I will leave a link in the description. My name is Jose Alcoy, and on this channel I share tips on documentary filmmaking and photography. Get my free off-camera flash checklist for environmental portraits. The link is in the description. Now, let's talk about the lens. When I started out, I only had two primes, a 35mm for environmental portraits and an 85 for close-ups. Last year, I picked the Sony 24mm G Master for filmmaking. And you know how it goes. When you have a new hammer, everything looks like a nail. So I was eager to use it for a portrait. Wide-angle lenses exaggerate depth, pulling the viewer into the scene. It gives a more immersive feel, which worked perfectly in Pablo's workshop. Did I make the right call by shooting wide open at 1.4? I'm not sure. On the plus side, I was able to expose for the background at ISO 400, which is my camera's second base ISO, but environmental portraits are about context. Perhaps I should have stopped down and used a second light to shape the background, or even use light painting, like my friend Sakis showed in a recent interview. Speaking of which, I could have paid more attention to the objects in the frame and placed his tools on one side and his Fujifilm camera, which is essential to his process, on the other. These are small details that add to the storytelling. Editing is the part that I enjoy the least. That's why I try to get my images as close to final in camera as possible. I'm sure AI will eventually creep into my workflow. Life's too short to spend more time in front of a screen. But for now, I kept it old school. Basic adjustments: exposure, contrast, saturation, and sharpening. Healing tool for small distractions, but I don't smooth out wrinkles. That's what adds character to a middle-aged man. Content-aware fill for some objects that I should have removed from the scene. Global dodge and burn to enhance the highlights and the shadows. A technique I learned years ago from Sean Tucker. In this case, my priority was to make those blue eyes pop and to darken the side opposite to the main light, essentially creating a negative fill in post. I also darkened the hands. They were too bright from being too close to the light. No color grading used. Most of the time, I'm happy with the realistic colors I get straight out of camera from recent Sony models like my A7C II. That's it, nothing extreme, just enough to refine the image without distorting the truth. By the way, I'm planning a self-portrait session soon, and I want to try Evoto AI to edit my headshots. Let me know if you have used the tool and what you think of it. So, what's the takeaway? Sometimes it feels like our gear isn't enough for what we're trying to achieve, but it's just about making the most of what we've got. If you're into off-camera flash environmental portraits, hit that subscribe button. I've got more coming. And check out this next video if you want to see how my friend Sakis creates stunning environmental portraits using light painting with just one speedlight.